Hi everyone, welcome back to the Lightworkers. Today we are here with Elena. She is a coach and she is a spiritual being and she melds the two worlds together in various forms. And we will know more about what she does and how she operates. So let's start. So Elena, why don't you introduce yourself? What do you do? Where are you from? And tell us about your spiritual world.
Thank you, Anisha. Thank you for inviting me to be in your podcast. I'm very honored and I'm excited and see where this conversation takes us. I am originally from Lima, Peru. I grew up in Peru until I was 22 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I I am the last of seven children. My dad was married once before, so I have four older
Mm-hmm.
siblings. And I moved to the States at 22 to pursue my master's in hotel and restaurant management. And I was
Mm-hmm.
supposed to go back to Peru with a master's and find a better job. But 30 years later, I'm still here in Houston, Texas. I'm married and I have a beautiful, very sensitive, spiritual child who is 14 years old, Joaquin.
Perfect. So tell us a little bit about how you got into coaching and how what's the connection? Is it a spiritual endeavor or is that different from what you do?
I think it's all connected, and I'm sure our conversation is going to take us there. My mom was a social worker, and and my dad was a very people driven type of person. So I think we children learn from them to connect with humans at a very early age.
Mm-hmm.
So after I did my master's in hotel and restaurant management, I became an HR professional
Mm.
by chance. And I've been an HR professional and HR leadership roles for about 25 years. And the part that I loved the most in human resources was coaching. And I didn't
Mm.
know what coaching was until one of my bosses was a coach. And she taught me everything that coaching can do for people, especially when you are in an HR leadership role. And she was
Mm.
my sponsor too, so she paid for my coaching certification. And since that moment, I fell in love with coaching, and I've been coaching in all my roles since then. That was back in 2015. Until
Mm.
last year, in June of 2023, when I got to the point, there was nothing happening except my desire to do coaching 100%. And I couldn't do it in my HR leadership role at this tech company I was with. So I
Mm-hmm.
left my corporate life and I started my own business, Sarango Executive Coaching. And I do that now full time. And I'm loving every bit of it.
Wow. So, I mean, the first question that comes to mind, Elena, is about, I guess, do you have to be resilient to jump off of a full-time position to starting on your own, and what has your journey been? And then I guess that's also what you coach people about, right? So how was it taking the journey yourself?
I will answer your first question by saying I was resilient already because of the experiences in my life, but I don't think you have to be resilient. But
Hmm.
leaving your corporate job into entrepreneurship will make you resilient no matter what, even if you decide to go back to corporate, which is not
Hmm.
my case. I think resilience is built through experiences. Of course, education from your parents, education that you receive from your teachers, the culture you live in, I grew up in a country where, first of all, third world country, where things were not as easy as you would like them to be, especially for a young professional who's coming out of college and they cannot find a job for months and months and months because of the economy, because of the political situation. Terrorism was very active in my country in those years. That made me very resilient. Being the last of 7 children made me very resilient. And then the experiences of living in a country, depending just on yourself makes it very difficult coming and developing and evolving in an environment, in a language that is not yours. What I teach my clients, because a lot of my clients have to build that muscle, I tell them that's a muscle that you already have. You already come with it. It's a matter of building, strengthening it. I say, like when you go to the gym and you lift weights, this is what you need to do to build resilience, is many things, but one of them is to accept that where you are is the right place and you're at the right time of the situation where you're in, because they will come to me because they are in some kind of situation, right? They come for help, they ask for help because they want to overcome a certain problem, or they want to obtain a certain goal. And for that, you need to flex some muscles, and resilience is one of them.
And so, like you said, you really got interested in coaching and leadership, and generally with your background, working with people. So, is that what motivated you, or was there something else where working with people really resonated with you? So, what was that one? Because, like you said, a lot of people do come with a lot of problems, right, to achieve a goal. So, is that the achievement of the goal, or is it the process to reach there that really, is something that motivates you?
Yes, it's definitely the tool I'm using to accomplish what I didn't know I wanted to accomplish since I was very young. But as I get older, I discovered that this is what I really want to accomplish in life, which is to help individuals evolve, understand themselves, become comfortable with who they are, especially in organizations, because the impact, and I particularly coach leaders, right? So leaders have such an impact, compound impact on others, so that evolvement not only impacts them, not only their teams, it impacts and influences the organization, the culture of the organization, society, and the world in general. So if I can help one person, that person, it's like a drop in the water, right? That what's the word? That impact, yeah, that drop will have in their environment is going to be huge. The ripple effect, that's what I was.
Ripple effect. And so then, Elena, what is a kind of leader that's, ideal? Because I mean, we are in this cutthroat competition where we have leaders, who just want to get the work done, and how to deal with people, or the empathy is sort of not on the higher, on the hierarchy, like at a higher position. So, what role does empathy play, and what is a good leader in your practice, or in, that you teach?
So my coaching is based on emotional intelligence, and empathy is a big component of emotional intelligence. And my definition of a leader, I want to explain that going back to my experience in 25 years as an HR leader. You can imagine how many people and how many leaders I worked with.
Mm.
I was lucky enough to have most of my leaders, maybe with an exception of one or two. Most of my bosses, my leaders, have been very inspirational to me.
Mm.
They are highly emotionally intelligent with areas of development. We all have those gaps that we need to close. But what I saw in the human resources department, and I was not a typical HR, I always, people would tell me, you've restored my faith in human resources. Because I always liked that connection with people. I really always I want to understand where people come from, why
Mm.
they behave and think the way they do. So when I think about a leader, and a successful leader is not the one that is at the top, that is making tons of money and that people, admire. Is the one that actually is highly emotionally intelligent, meaning they care about the people below them. They care about
Right.
their workforce, not so much about the results and the stock price. Is more
Mm.
about how can I develop my teams? How can I develop my leaders to take one day my place? And that can only be done with the self-awareness that I teach, that I develop in my clients, is to become first self-aware. What are my
Mm-hmm.
strengths? What are my weaknesses? What do I need to improve on to be a better leader? And
Mm-hmm.
from there, the growth, it becomes faster, easier. When you first know self, that's why I'm so much into the self-development and all that, because if you don't know self first, the
Mm.
rest becomes more difficult to understand.
Wow. This is a great segue into, I guess, the spiritual side of a person, knowing the self. I mean, does it have parallels with that as well? So, do you have a spiritual practice, and how do you bring that into your coaching as well?
Absolutely. So I was trained in a coaching that it's called integral coaching, which is an amazing schooling, because it's not just, okay, I'm going to teach you how to coach.
Mm.
I was trained to understand the person in all its, ecosystem. So it's
Mm.
not just the knowledge, but it's also the spiritual side of the person, is the social side of the person. It is the body and how the body is connected to the mind. And all those elements, family, friends, social, body, mind, soul, is what will helps individual become more self-aware, and therefore speed up the ability to evolve as an individual. So
Mm.
with that said, my spiritual journey started way before that. My dad used to read these books by an author called Wayne Dyer. And Wayne Dyer, you were familiar with him. He was, because unfortunately he passed away. I was lucky to see him live, and he actually autographed a book for me. And he that's where my spiritual journey started, when
Mm-hmm.
he showed that the spiritual part
Mm-hmm.
of us is really what drives the rest forward, right? And that he used to say, we are a spiritual being in a physical body.
Mm-hmm.
We're not a
Yeah.
physical body looking for a spiritual being. So that's where my spiritual journey started.
Mm-hmm. Did you see very obvious parallels between your work and the spiritual aspect that you followed?
I love that question because my clients don't know this because these are corporate people, they will get scared if I talk about spirituality, although some are able to take it, and I know the right moment to when to bring this up. But yes, when I start asking, so my coaching is all based on powerful questions, and when I start peeling the layers, they come with a problem that's, I need to improve my communication skills because I cannot break through that ceiling because I'm a Latino, or because I am a woman, or because I'm too young. And at the core of the problem is what they think about themselves.
Mm.
The knowledge and the perception of who you are is so critical. And if
Yeah.
you are not able to open that up, peel those layers till you get to the core, the room for the path for development, it becomes harder and
Mm.
longer. You can get there, but I believe with this work, in my case, coaching, that development becomes easier, faster, because I'm there right by their
Right.
side, holding their hand, peeling those layers with them.
Mm-hmm. Can you share maybe an example of how you put in, the spiritual aspect into your work, and they don't even like, the client probably doesn't even get it, but you've seen some changes, instant changes, or maybe changes over time.
I've had many situations like that
Yeah.
when my coaching sessions, instead of being 3 weeks or 4 weeks, it took 1 hour to get there. And when that's the case, I say, this is it, you're done. This,
Wow.
and they're amazed. Um, I received a call from this lady who is the cousin of a friend of mine, and she knows I'm a coach. And she said, Elena, but she knows also that I'm at HR, right?
Mm.
My background is HR. So she came to me for a spreadsheet. Elena, I need you to share a spreadsheet with me to make a decision. And so I knew where this was going to go. And I said, okay, what does that spreadsheet look like? And she had it in her mind. She said, yeah, maybe it's one of those that you divide into 2 columns and you say what's good about that decision and what's not good about that decision.
Mm.
So I started peeling the layers, and I started to asking questions, and I started to become very curious.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, what is exactly what you're trying to get to?
Mm.
And she told me she needed to make a decision. She had 2 job offers. One was in Houston, one was in San Antonio. She lived at that point in San Antonio.
Mm.
So the way I use the spiritual side of things is that I made her I did an exercise with her where I made her close her eyes and actually feel, and it took more than just a feeling. I asked her to grab imagine she was grabbing 2 different objects. And one object represented Houston, and the other object represented the option in San Antonio. And we went through an exercise of closing her eyes and feeling the emotions of being on one role versus the other. And
Mm.
then we went through what each option was bringing to her life and how was that aligning with her vision of herself 10, 15, 20 years from now. So
Wow.
that connection of who she is and what she wants to be, knowing
Mm,
yourself and know where you want to go and be, brought her to tears. She was crying and crying because she was able to peel the layers till the bottom. That's
mm,
called peeling the layers of an onion, because usually it will bring such an emotion because it's such a self-discovery in such a quick time.
mm.
And I didn't have to say anything. She said, I got it. I know which role I want to take. And she
Mm.
wrote a beautiful, testimonial for me, and it's on my website. And now she's in Houston. She made the decision to come to Houston. 2 weeks, two
Wow.
or 3 weeks later.
Wow. That's powerful. Um, so then, Lena, when clients do come to you, do they trust the process without knowing what the process is, or do you feel like you have to do a lot of explaining when they, come to you?
I explain, especially if it's going to
Mm.
be usually my sessions are for a minimum of 4 to 6 months
All right.
length, right? So because it takes that long. It's not just a one insight, right? And I explain this to them. First is about discovering and bringing clarity to what your vision is. And most of my clients don't know what I even mean by vision.
Mm.
People do not think about what is their vision in life. So we start with that, and then I tell them, and then we're going to, bring clarity as far as what are your limiting beliefs, what is stopping you from getting to that vision. And most of
Mm.
it is our thoughts. And and those are unconscious thoughts most
Mm-hmm.
of the time, and that's what's limiting us from getting there or even creating that vision of the future. And then third, we talk about the strategy. So every day when you wake up, what are you going to do that day? How do you know you're going to work on that path towards your vision?
Mm.
And lastly, it's usually, it's how to move forward. We create a path to move forward without Elena by their side. So we create that pathway for them to continue that journey without a coach. So yes, I do tell them the structure. They don't know exactly how we're going to do the content.
So how do you maneuver this process of this environment where people want instant results, and then here you're working with them 3 to 6 months, right? So has it been a struggle, or has it been quite smooth for you, taking this process?
It takes practice, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to become a really good listener.
Mm.
You yourself have to be completely disconnected from your biases and your experiences and your um, environment, and be completely present with the person and with what they're saying and how they're feeling, because that is what really makes a powerful coach effective, is that you're able to tap and ask, a question, and maybe take them to a path that they never thought they could go, and uncover things I never thought they could uncover. My clients sometimes tell me, I would never, ever thought about saying this to anybody. I can't say
Mm.
this to my husband or to my wife.
Mm.
And that's where the tears come, because they feel so liberated by the fact that they feel safe coming and talking to somebody about it. So it's maneuver them with kindness, with a soft touch, but with courage, because you have to have the courage to ask questions that nobody else would ask, and poke
Mm-hmm.
areas that nobody would have poked.
Mm. You said that, you have to be really present to and be a good listener. Sometimes, I mean, in various healing practices, I've seen that just by being present and being able to hear someone out is in itself a healing, process, because people just feel like they are not heard, and they are not able to say. And then, of course, if you're giving a safe space, then over a period of time, it does probably do a lot of things. I mean, apart from the coaching that you're doing, but I'm just thinking about the healing aspect of that process as well, right? So just by being present in your energy, they're probably gaining a lot of insights. So, yeah, so to speak.
I would say that's the most important first step in the healing process is having someone that is really listening and paying attention. And I always say my coaching comes from a place of love. It's
Mm,
not a place of need. So I'm not thinking about what am I going to say to Anisha now that she shared this with me? Ooh, how should I reframe what she just said? No, I'm
mm,
completely actively listening to what you're saying because it is behind the words where the meaning really lies on. And that's where you need to extract the juice of the
wow.
healing process of the
Mm,
problem.
mm, interesting. Um, I wanted to check with you then the kind of people who come to you with various issues, right? And like you said, they might come for one issue and then, they discover something else. Are you able to help everyone? Like everyone who comes to you can be, okay.
No, thank you,
Mm,
Anisha. That's a good question because people think that a coach or even a therapist
mm,
can or a counselor can help everybody or anybody. In coaching especially, you have situations where as a coach you don't want to touch, like
mm,
for example, I'm not a relationship coach as far as love. There's love coaches, right? Like
mm,
between a man and a woman or a partner and a partner. um I won't accept those kind of clients. um and most importantly, there are situations where you, by asking the questions, you discover there is a mental illness underlying issue in that person. And when
mm,
I'm able to sense that it is a mental illness issue, it's my obligation because I follow the ICF, the International Coaching Federation ethics code.
mm-hmm.
You are Your responsibility is to refer them to a professional that can help that person.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So now, some of my clients have both. They have a therapist and they have a coach.
Mm,
And sometimes they kind of cross
mm,
paths, but a coach has to be aware that that's a issue that is being dealt by a professional, and you might touch it lightly, but you don't dig into that issue.
mm,
But it does come as part of the story of the person. And it's good to know the story, but a coach starts from the moment,
mm-hmm.
from present, working towards the future. And
Mm.
a therapist or a counselor digs into the past to fix that problem.
Right, right, got it. You
So,
specific, yeah. You specifically mentioned that you don't work with relationship or love and those aspects. So, is there a particular theme that you work with, or different various themes that you specifically work on?
so I call myself a leadership coach,
Mm,
because I feel like all of us are leaders in some way or the other. You could
mm,
be a leader of a team, you could be a leader of a project, you could be a leader at university of a team presentation. You could be a leader in your community. You could be a leader in your church. So I am a leadership coach because I like to work with people on how to develop certain skills
Mm,
to
mm,
move and
mm.
evolve into the next level, whatever that
Mhm.
next level is.
I think we've already touched upon this, but again, could you go over a few skills that you think are absolutely imperative for a leader?
Oh, sure. We've talked about
I think we talked about empathy, right? Mm,
empathy, yes, and
mm,
self-awareness, right?
mm, mm,
The something that is, I think, very important for leaders to have is compassion.
mm,
That's a skill that lacks a lot in corporations. And compassion, to me, because there's many definitions, compassion is the ability to see the other person and and accept the fact that there is a story behind that person that you have zero
mm,
control over, that that person has been creating throughout their life, and you can't blame them for being in the place they are. So you observe them and accept them the way they are, and then you offer, don't hold, you offer your hand to
mm,
to help them move forward. That doesn't make you a therapist that you have to, because leaders get so scared when you tell them, talk to Anisha, understand why she's feeling that way. Don't be afraid to ask them, oh, I can get sued, oh, I can be accused or whatever. Compassion
mm,
is just seeking understanding and talking with empathy without any preconception, leaving everything behind, just being
mm,
present and handing your help to that person. How, as a leader, can I help you move forward? What can I do in under my control to help you overcome this situation? Or
mm,
just as simple as, I'm here if you need me. I've said that many times to people, and that makes their life so much better. Just
mm.
knowing there is somebody there. And when it is their leader, it makes such a big difference.
Wow.
Unfortunately, that doesn't exist much. So compassion, self, um, self, self-awareness,
Mm-hmm,
and I would say flexibility. Flexibility is a skill that is very important in a leader, being able to
mm-hmm,
flex from stressful situations, be able to take a step back and calm yourself down and be able to make better decisions.
mm,
Um, there's stress tolerance is a skill that is
mm-hmm,
highly needed in leaders. I had to learn that myself when I
mm-hmm,
started to get clients. I'm sorry, when I started to lead teams. Um, um, I would say, and the ability to express yourself. That's another emotional intelligence skill that is key, is being able to be authentic, transparent, vulnerable
mm,
with without being too, I call without having to get naked, right? You don't have to get naked. You just have to
mm.
show who you are without many filters. And that is something that is difficult, but a good leader learns how to do that. And it doesn't take long. It takes one first time to try it.
Wow. And Elena, you've been working with so many leaders over the last 25 years. So have you seen the definition of a leader changing or evolving over the years? And then has it spiritually evolved as well? Like what have you seen or observed?
Yes, I would say probably the biggest difference, because I started when in the 90s, right? So in the 90s, and I started, my first job was at a company, which the company's motto was, we're ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. And probably people that you or anyone that's listening to this conversation can tell what company that was. And I'm very proud to say it's the Ritz-Carlton, who teaches you to be a lady or a gentleman serving a lady or a gentleman. And that was an incredible environment to work in, because the leaders treated you with that motto always. So it was
Mm-hmm.
not just for the guests, but it was for the employees too, and the interactions with the employees. So there was a lot of respect. I was taught to treat the language that we would speak, it would be Miss Dot. It wasn't Anisha. It was calling Mr. or Mrs. by the last name. It showed respect, and the guests loved it, right? And they still love that. Time has evolved where leadership is more about treating, the generations have changed, millennials, Gen Zs. Is about Anisha, Elena. It's more of a connection, and more a closer connection, rather than that distance of,
Mm-hmm.
manager to employee, which there's nothing wrong with that. I love
Mm-hmm.
that. So that's probably the biggest difference. And when it comes to spirituality, I think about COVID-19. To me, that was the biggest change that, as corporate American in all over the world, and leadership, and the relationship between leaders and employees, how everything changed to where
Mm-hmm.
it's no longer you in the office personality. It's now Anisha at home, my employee, with her dog and her baby next to her, and the husband working right next to her. So why do I say that I think that's a shift into spirituality? Is because it's that energy, that connection between, two individuals and teams, because now everybody's working remotely. And so how do you make that connection? If you can hug anybody, is the ability to connect, and asking questions. Oh, Anisha, so, how was your day today? I know we can't leave the house, but did you cook something? So you became more interested in the individual as a human being, rather than the
Mm-hmm.
employee walking down the hallway. So to me, it has a spirituality element to it.
Right, right. Um, just going back to what you said, Elena, about stress tolerance, and how you yourself had to build it, right? So, are there any tips that you want to share with people listening to this podcast about how they can build, their like the stress tolerance? And then, of course, tell us a little bit about how you did it, your journey.
I'm still working on it, okay?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I used to be someone that will um, ruminate about events and project myself into the worst case scenario. That's how
Yeah.
I was programmed. And until one incident with my son, where I was in the verge of collapsing, and I had to change because he needed me.
Mm,
So I got very close to spirituality in those years, to where I was able to rely on meditation.
mm,
I relied on walks in the neighborhood,
yeah.
connecting with nature. I do earthing, so I
Mm,
put my feet on the ground and the grass for
hmm
15 minutes, and I just breathe. So breathing.
Elena, what is earthing?
Earthing, the way I understand it, is that you connect your feet, your bare feet, with grass or the earth, the ground, if you can, if you have access to it, or it could be even sand in the beach or water in the ocean or a river. And what it does is that you directly connect with the earth source, which gives
Mm.
you, it revitalizes you, is what's the word? Revitalizes you.
Revitalize.
It gives you the energy from the earth. It connects you with what's, what you are. You are an
Mm.
element of earth. You are not disconnected.
Mm.
And that helps people heal. Some people are able to heal with that exercise. In my case, it calms me down.
Mm.
It eliminates all the distractions, and I'm connected with nature, which is part of the creation as I am. So it kind of makes me go down to the essence of who I am.
Mm. Mhm.
But that, like anything else, it's a practice. So you want to obtain the results in one day. It's like a
Mm.
muscle. You have to exercise. You have to do it as often as you can for 15 minutes. This was actually a practice that my functional medicine doctor gave me.
Mhm. And then, so Elena, working over it for over the number of years, then when there is a stressful situation that comes up, you're able to basically manage it well, or you're able to you're not breaking down. Is that what you're saying?
Most of the time, I don't break down. The problem with stress is the building up of micro situations.
Mm.
Um, I have a potential client that I just spoke with on Friday, and hers has been building up over the years. And it could be,
Mm.
anyone listening to this conversation, it could be in her case, is having to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning because she has to be at her job location at 6 a.m. for a 7 a.m. meeting. And that it's not the fact that you have to wake up early, it's the fact that you didn't sleep enough hours. It's the
Mm.
fact that you're not spending time with your children that are waking up at 8 o'clock in the morning to go to school. In her
Mm.
case, it's because she cannot take them to school. So all
Mm.
this build up. So that stress now is making her want to wake up and make a change. And that's why she came to me. In my case, part of my solution to resolve that buildup was to leave corporate, right? Because
Mm.
I had a very stressful job, big
Mm.
team, international team, and thousands of employees under my control.
Mhm.
So part of it was to change and do, other people leave jobs and become an individual contributor rather than a leader. Or
Mm.
in my case, people decide to go to entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
But it's so I need to say something though. The solution to stress is not to leave, is to
Yeah.
make a change.
Mm.
And whatever that change is for you will bring you peace, freedom, flexibility.
Yes. Totally. And then one question just popped up about, since there's all these muscles that you're building, you're working on yourself regularly. So, what role does intuition play in your life? And then, is that something that you need to build as well, or is that something that is innate?
It's innate in a lot of people. Like I
Mm.
I know one of my brothers is very intuitive. Um, I feel like I'm intuitive too. I've always been because I've had the ability to recognize individuals, people, and who I want to hang out with and who I don't want to hang out with, who I want to hire and who I don't want to hire. So this
Mm,
served really well in my career. But it is a muscle you need to develop, that you can develop, and the more intuitive you become, the more successful you become, the happier you get, because that length of time that it takes for us to recognize if that's the right path, if that's the right person, is that the right step to take, becomes
mm,
shorter the more intuitive you become.
mm,
And the way I think you develop intuition is by risk taking.
mm,
You start taking risks and trust yourself that
mm,
what you're about to do is the right thing to do. And then if it's not, you gotta bounce back, and you develop the ability to learn from that experience.
mhm,
That's one thing I don't like about religion, is, you talk about sins and mistakes, and I don't believe in that. I think these are experiences that teach you to be better, and as long as you learn it, and maybe you do it twice,
mhm,
but I've done things that I've done it one and two and three times all over until I learn my lesson. But I don't
mhm,
think about, oh, Elena, shame on you. You should feel guilty about it. Those are the lowest of the lowest in the energy, scale.
right. Mhm,
So being intuitive is to me is going deep, taking the risk, and reflecting on it and learning that was the right move, or it
mm,
was
mm.
move forward.
This is, I mean, the way you say it is just, it sounds so simple. Yet I feel like a lot of people, right, when they come to you for healing or even coaching, they're stuck in this spiral of shame, right? And you don't even know how. Like they don't come and say I'm shameful, right? Or I'm feeling shame. But when you go beyond, right, you feel that, oh my God, they feel like they are judging themselves and they're ashamed of themselves, right? And many of them some at some level are stuck there, right? And like you said, it could be from their culture, from their parents, so many, like everybody around. And if they can adopt this simple statement of, where there's no judgment, that they can fail and then it's about bouncing back that matters. I mean, I think it brings ease to my body, at least, just to know that. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
um
But that's, if I may, Anisha, that's why it is so important. I just I did a talk on this, surrounding ourselves with people that we can, align with.
mm,
And the three roles that I always talk about that are very important are mentors. That's
mm-hmm,
why I volunteer as a mentor. Is
mm,
coaches, the ones that will challenge you and help you move forward. And sponsors, people that trust you, that believe in you, and that can help you get out of where you
mm,
are and move forward. And sponsors are usually inside the organization, somebody that
mm,
sees you and knows you and trusts you and they believe in you. Mentor,
mm,
someone that you usually attract or you find, but there has to be some kind of synergy and alignment that because mentors are people that will share their experience. They walk the path you kind of want to walk, so you learn from them what it took for them to get there. So
mm,
surrounding yourself by those individuals, always having somebody where you belong, will
mm,
help you become more resilient, will help you see where those falls are just a, a valley in the whole picture. And even some friends are good for that. If you're lucky, you have a best friend that is that kind of person. In coaching, we say, tell me, Anisha, the person that you can call, not your husband, but the friend that you can call at 3 o'clock in the morning, and she or he will answer the phone. If you can name somebody, you already have that person that can help you come out of that situation. So for those of you that are asking that question and saying, like Anisha, well, that sounds easier than it's not, you can't do it on your own. You have to have people. And if you don't have people, and I love this quote, it doesn't sound like this, but something like this: don't see yourself as the victim of your circumstances. Go and find those environments. So go and find your tribe. And if you can't find it, create it. Be the one creating those environments. Create a network of people, create a group of people, create a mastermind, a meditation group. Those are ways to create your tribe.
Yeah. Wow, perfect. Now just moving to the last segment, I guess, talking about, you said that when people come, there is this peeling of layers that happen, right? Actually, before we move to the last segment, or the second last question, would be, are there people that come who are very reluctant in doing that? And then how do you maneuver such cases where, they don't want to go beyond like one layer, and then, it's becoming a little tough?
My husband.
Yeah.
No, they say a coach will not, you can't coach your husband for sure. And my son will say, Mama, you're not my coach, you're my mother. But no, there is, especially in my field, corporate individuals, men and women, I've encountered where they don't want to hear it. They don't want to go there because they're afraid. It's fear which stopped them from digging deeper.
Yeah.
They don't want to uncover that has not been uncovered because of the fear of being vulnerable, the fear of, and there's also others that think they're so, ego driven, egocentric, that they think that they're the best. There's nothing else to learn. There's no
Right.
feat that can make them better.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked with many of those. So
And then are
yes,
you able to move through or move past that?
a successful coaching relationship is when the person wants to move forward, when the person is willing to be vulnerable to learn. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult. I've had cases where the company, that's called remedial coaching, when the company says, Anisha, you either go with a coach or you might lose your job.
All right.
Those are not my favorite situations. And actually, when I don't have to take them, I don't, because it takes a long time and effort from the coach's part to turn that person around. Have I been able to do it? I have, but it took a lot of effort, work from the other person as well. And it takes a while in those remedial cases for the company to see the results. Because you
Right.
see, coaching is not a one day, you're completely different. It's after the whole coaching program, you continue evolving. Everything that you were able to uncover, you continue maneuvering and managing and listening and thinking and reflecting on it. That sometimes you have to stop a coaching program for the person to be able to move one step forward, and then you can come back again as a coach and continue that journey. But it needs some time to simmer.
Right. Got it. And now, moving to the last segment about, stories of hope and maybe miracles that you've encountered over the years, working with clients, and where you've really seen some powerful transformations. Do you want to share such stories?
Sure. Um, let's see. One story I have, actually, when I was little, I thought, I still, until this day, I think it's a miracle and maybe has an influence with what I do, and the importance of having someone in your life that can inspire you and motivate you and hold your hand. I was a maybe 8 years old, and I was walking. I was chasing a chicken in my grandma's roof. And my grandma's roof,
Roof.
the roof on the third floor, there was a section that was just glass, because that was the you could see this cement staircase all the way
Mm.
from the first floor to the third floor. And I stepped into that glass chasing this chicken, and I came through the glass, and I was supposed to hit the cement staircase. But there was a neighbor visiting my grandma that day who, it's only a miracle, was able to go up in that millisecond. He sees me falling, goes up the stairs, and carries me in his arms. To me, that's a
Wow.
miracle. I think it's, until this day, I don't know how that happened, because he had to go up the stairs. And as you can imagine, everything happened boom, in a second. I've seen beautiful transformations with my clients. One of them was Ceci. Ceci got laid off, and she was in despair. She's a beautiful, beautiful person who all of a sudden she's given all this dedication and her love, because she's very loving, to this organization, which is a nonprofit. And all of a sudden she's told that today's your last day. So thank God she called me. She thought of Elena, her friend, and she became my client because she needed to not only accept that what she had just been given was a gift. And I tell everybody listening, if they listen and they've been laid off, I hope you can see now, looking back, that that was a gift that was given to you. Although at that moment could be the end of the world, but something better always comes up. It's a step up into a better role. It's a step up into an amazing company, a loving boss. You meet the love of your life in that next role, whatever it is. And in her case, after we worked on accepting that layoff was the best thing for her, and then change her shift to her vision. Okay, let's leave this behind now. Let's move forward. She found an amazing, amazing job, higher level, more pay, in an amazing organization, directly supporting the CEO in a month. So it only
Wow.
took a month for her from one job to the other. So to me, that was a little bit of a miracle, to be honest.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
yeah.
she attributes it to the coaching. And it's not
Wow.
me. I always say it's not me, it's you who put 200% into this work, right? Because it's not,
Hmm.
we're just facilitators, we're just enablers. It's the person on the other side who has to really open up and accept that a change needs to be made to be happy.
Hmm. Yeah. And Elena, you work with people all over the world, right? You can work online and okay.
Yes,
So,
I have clients internationally. Tomorrow I'm working with a group of Brazilian executives. I'm doing a group coaching. So
hmm.
yeah, In English.
In
I
English.
I speak Spanish, obviously. That's my mother tongue, but I don't speak Portuguese.
Okay, yeah. Perfect. So, anything else? Any parting thoughts you have, Elena, that you want to add before we end?
Um, Thank you, Anisha. No, I've really enjoyed this conversation. This morning I was looking at LinkedIn and I came across this video that somebody had posted, and it is this actor, can't remember his name now, very famous actor, who is
Mm,
sharing his best tip with other actors because he went through a difficult, he lost one of his sons, I think. And it's as simple as this too shall pass. And that's
mm,
been my anchor in life.
yeah.
This too shall pass. So if you are right now in a situation that is difficult, you are in the midst of a chaotic divorce, you got laid off, you hate your job, you are having difficulties, an illness, this too shall pass. And if you focus on that, it brings you so much peace. In the most stressful situations, that's what's anchored me.
Perfect. I think that's an anchor that everybody needs. And thank you for that hopeful statement. And just letting everyone know that we can all rely on that. So it
Yes.
was it was wonderful, Lina. Thank you so much for being there, for sharing all the nuggets that you did. And I hope to bring you back and we can talk about something else very soon.
Anisha, thank you for inviting me. I would love to come back.
Thank you. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.